Hi there. So yesterday we read a little bit about Kyle, and then the chapter 20 shifted to Charles' point of view. And we found out that Charles found this silhouette of a football player, and he thinks that he's onto something and it's important. And so in chapter 21, I'm reading for a purpose to find out if it does lead to something. Maybe he finds another one, maybe somebody else finds another silhouette like that, and kind of who's on the lead for getting out of this library. Okay, so let's get started with chapter number 21. Ouch, I'm stuck, help! Haley Daly's cries sailed up the staircase as Kyle led the charge down the steps into the stacks. So, what exactly are the stacks? Asked Akemi, 3 steps behind Kyle. It's where the library stores its collection of research materials, said Sierra, who was 2 stairs behind Akemi. The 3 of them reached the basement, and it was filled with a tidy row of floor-to-ceiling shelf units. Help! Haley sounded like she was on the far side of the room behind the walls of the metal storage racks, crowded with boxes, books, and bins. What is all this stuff? Asked Kyle, looking for a passageway, trying to figure out how to get to wherever Haley was. Mostly rare books and documents. You can't check them out, said Sierra, but if you fill out a call slip, you can use the material up in the reading room. With a whir and a whoosh of its electric motor, a shiny robot the color of the stormtroopers in Star Wars scooted across an intersection between the bookshelves. It moved on tank treads and had what looked like a shopping cart attached to its front. Let's follow that robot, said Kyle. It might know the fastest way to reach Haley. The trio dashed up the narrow pathway to where they saw the robot extending its quadruple-jointed mechanical arm to pluck a flat metal box out of the side-in compartment. The box had been stored in a section shelving with a flashing LCD that read magazines and periodicals, 1930s. Somebody upstairs wants to hold the magazine? Or somebody upstairs wants an old magazine? Asked Akemi. They're probably reaching the Gold Leaf Bank building, said Sierra. I think that was built in the 1930s. Help! Screamed Haley. I'm stuck! Hang on, shouted Kyle. We're coming. Well, hurry up already. This way, said Kyle. They scampered up another aisle, turned right, and saw Haley, her hand jammed in a horizontal slot near the top of a basement wall. To reach it, she'd had to stand on an elevated treadmill that was maybe 30 feet long. Since the thing was rolling, Haley was jogging in place so that she wouldn't fall on her face. The high-tech conveyor belt was actually a series of rollers. 10 robot carts staggered so no two were directly across from each other. They were lined up on either side. I think it's an automatic book sorter, said Sierra. The last laser beam near Haley's ankles probably scans a book tag and tells the conveyor belt which way to sort in the 10 trays to shove it into. You guys, screamed Haley, hurry up and rescue me. Kyle stepped back, trying to assess the situation. What is the slot you're hanging on to? It's the bottom of a stupid book drop, said Haley, trotting to the treadmill. I saw it on the floor plan. People can walk up into the sidewalk and return their books. I figured it had to leave down here. Smart move, said Kyle. You could crawl through the slot and escape. If you were the size of a book, said Akemi, sarcastically. I never got that far, said Haley. The minute I stepped onto this belt thing, it started moving. Kyle nodded. Probably a weight-activated switch. A book falls in, said Akemi. The sorter starts up. Clever, said Kyle. Plus it gives our game its first trap. Well, the game is no fun unless you're stuck in the game is no fun if you're the one stuck in the trap, said Haley. Kyle turned to Sierra. We need to stop the belt so Haley can yank her hand out of that slot without falling on her butt or cracking open her skull. Have you ever read a book about a hero who outwits the escalator or rolling checkout belt in the grocery store or something? No, said Sierra, not really. How about the one where the hero flips just an emergency shutoff before it eats the person, said Akemi, because that's what I'd do if, I found one. Akemi was standing next to the wall mounted switch box. She flicked it down. The conveyor belt slowly slowed to a stop. Ta-da! Another chapter for my amazingly awesome autobiography, if I ever write one. Haley yanked out her arm out of the book return slot. It sort of popped when it finally sprang free. She collapsed to her knees on the frozen treadmill. My hands feel like flatter than a pancake, she moaned. Are you hurt? Asked Kyle. Maybe we should tell the security guards that. What? That I have a boo-boo and I need to go home? Forget it, Kyle Keeley. You are not going to beat me that easily. I'm not trying to. Haley showed him the palm of her hand. Save it, Keeley. She crawled off the conveyor belt. One way or another, I'm going to win this game. I'm just hoping starring in Mr. Lemoncello's commercials earns me some decent money. She hobbled around the bookshelves towards the staircase up to the reading room. When she was gone, Akemi raised her hand. Question? Yeah, said Kyle. How come the guys inside the control room didn't flip a switch to shut off the book sorter when they saw Haley doing her cardio cha-cha-cha on it? Kyle shrugged. Maybe they weren't watching. Actually, said Sierra, pointing to the square tile on the floor near the book sorter, I think they were. Kyle looked down. The tile was glowing like one of those tablet computer screens upstairs in the rotunda. Kyle read the words zipping across the illuminated square. Congratulations, it read out. For helping Haley and being a sport, you've earned much more than a good report. The tile popped open. Inside the small compartment was a rolled-up tube of paper with a yellow card inside. Huh, said Akemi. I guess somebody was watching. Kyle pulled the yellow card off the paper tube. It smelled like lemons. What's it say? Said Sierra. Kyle flipped over the card so Sierra and Akemi could see what was printed on it. Super duper bonus clue. Ooh. Oh man, that was so dumb. Haley could not believe how idiotic she had been. Trying to crawl out of a book return slot? Chia, like that was going to work. She was giving herself a good talking to as she trudged up those stairs to the first floor. When she entered the rotunda, she saw Charles Chitlington slipping out into the lobby again. Chitlington was a snake. Worse, a garden slug. Maybe a leech. Something oily and slimy that left a greasy trail when it liked to mooch off other people's ideas. That was why Chitlington had tailed the twins' library nerds, Peckelman and Ferdinands, upstairs during last night's dessert hunt. Haley was smart enough to know that Chitlington was hoping to steal the book geek's idea. Actually, Haley was a lot smarter than anybody, except her teachers and whoever scored her IQ tests, knew. With certain people, mainly grown-ups and silly boys, pretending to be ditzy and a princess made getting what she wanted a lot easier. And what she wanted right now was money. Lots of money. Her dad had been out of work for nearly a year. They'd been running through all their rainy day savings. They'd had to borrow from relatives and in-laws. If Haley could win this competition and become Mr. Lemoncello's spokesmodel, her family money woes would all be over and they wouldn't have to sell their home. And once other people saw her on TV for Lemoncello games, they'd want her for their commercials too. And movies. Maybe their own sitcom. Something on Disney Channel, maybe. But for that to happen, Haley needed a winning idea, and fast. Something better than crawl through a slot that's barely wide enough for your wrist. Maybe she'd flush herself down the toilet and escape through the sewers like Charles did in that video game. She headed over to the Book Nook Cafe so she could sit down and think. She stepped into the room and checked out the snack table. There were trays of cookies, strawberries, bananas, and brownies. Sitting down to nibble on a macaroon, she studied the row of cookbooks displayed on the bookshelves lining the wall. One in particular caught her eye. Cupcakes, cookies, and pie. Oh my. Because the cover looked extremely familiar, two googly-eyed sheep made out of frosted cakes with globs of mini marshmallows for fleece, Haley had seen the cover before. In the lobby! It was in that glass case of memorable reads selected by the library staff. She went over to a shelf and picked up the book. When she opened the cover, she discovered two cards. One was a 4x4 piece of white cardboard with a black silhouette of a sheep on it. The second card was a yellow and about the size of a community chest card in Monopoly. Haley sniffed the card. It smelled like lemons. She grinned. For Lemoncello. One of the yellow cards was printed Super Duper Bonus Card. On the other side, or on the other clue, your marvelous memory has earned you even more memories. Proceed to the Limoncello Abilia room for item number 12. Haley slid through both cards into her back pocket of her jeans, pulled out the library floor plan, and found the Limoncello Abilia room. It was up on the 3rd floor. Making certain nobody, i.e. Charles Chitlington, was following her, Haley quickly dashed up the spiral staircase to the 2nd floor. Checking for Chitlington one more time, she tiptoed to the 3rd floor, where she found the room labeled Limoncello Abilia, mini museum of personally interesting and somewhat quirky junk. Haley opened the door and stepped inside. The front room was like a storage warehouse. Cardboard boxes were stacked on top of wooden crates sitting on plastic bins stuffed with papers. All the boxes, bins, and crates were numbered. She saw one labeled number 576. Guess Mr. Limoncello never throws anything away, Haley remarked as she scanned the heaps looking for number 12 mentioned in her bonus card. Weaving her way through the stacks and columns, Haley found her super duper bonus item number 12 was an old boot box from an Alexandriaville shoe store Haley had never heard of. Someone had taped a label to the lid. Doodads, accoutrements, and lost items from Mr. Limoncello's 12th year. Haley lifted the lid. The box was filled with all sorts of confusing knickknacks. Handwritten prototypes for game pieces, a star-spangled red, white, and blue Humphrey button, and battered clasp envelope sealed up with tons of tape. Someone had scribbled "first and worst idea ever" on the front of the envelope with magic marker. There was also a felt pennant from Disneyland and a rubber band stack of cartoony cards for something called Wacky Packages. The card on top was Wiki's Breakfast for Chumps. Haley knew this memory box had to be important, and it had to be a clue. Why? She had absolutely no idea. So join me tomorrow when we read Chapter 23 and Chapter 4 together. This time we were able to see something from Haley's perspective, so I'm kind of wondering, are we going to see another character's perspective? We still have Miguel and Peter, Akimi, and Sierra to think about too, because we've heard Kyle's perspective, Charles, and now we've heard Haley's. So I'm interested in what's next.